Welcome to the Crack House Chronicles, your favorite true crime podcast. I am Donnie, and with me is a man that says getting your blood pressure taken is enough to give you high blood pressure. It's Dale.
You're a little stressed out, are you?
Oh yeah, I get stressed out when I get my blood pressure taken.
Be like going to a polygraph, wouldn't it? Be all to hell.
I would. I wouldn't pass a polygraph.
You wouldn't have to. I mean, you wouldn't even have to hook you up. You'd just be all to just shaking over there.
I would.
Shaking and sweating.
Yeah, well, we're going to take your blood pressure. Well, I can feel my blood pressure going up as they're saying we're going to take your blood pressure.
Yeah. Come on in. We're going to check everything out.
It does.
Levels just go up.
They said, yeah, your blood pressure's a little high. I thought, well, no kidding, because you're taking my blood pressure. That's what happens.
Yeah, and you got this damn thing wrapped around my arm, about to cut it off.
Yeah, about to squeeze my,
Oh
pinch my arm off at the end.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah. What's going on today, dude?
You know it, man. Same old, same old.
Same old, same old. Doing an episode back in the crack house.
Back in the house.
Got it going on.
We do.
You got any good shout-outs or anything you want to talk about, bud?
Well, we got a little bit of thing. First of all, we'll make a little correction from last week, and once we figured out what we're doing here, we did see that crazy for ... is actually crazy for caramel.
That's right.
Or caramel, or whichever one you want to say.
However you say it.
I'm a caramel guy. I don't know about you. Are you a caramel or a caramel?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyhow, but anyway, just sorry about that, but we have figured out how to see the whole name here. I think. Anyway,
I answered to both of them. Somebody asked me which one I want. I answered to both of them. So yeah.
Is it yes to both of them?
Yes.
Correct. Okay. Anyway, get past that. Also, we have a brand new one too, by the way. So we have a brand new Apple podcast 5-star.
5-star
review, and this comes from Aubrey Henson. Now that we can see the whole name.
Oh yeah.
And this says, "Freaking love you guys." Now this comes from February 18th, so you'll see why the date is important. It says, I have never been someone who could actually listen to a whole podcast episode through. However, when my mom told me about y'all's podcast, that definitely changed. We know where you from. I am obsessed, and that's a whole capitals and stuff. And it makes it even better that you guys are from Cleveland County. I just read the newest news article about the search warrants for H degree case, and I cannot wait to hear y'all's next episode about the case. Those texts sure sound suspicious to me, don't y'all think?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. So that's why I went ahead and give you the date, so it's a little bit behind because it takes a minute for it to get to us. But anyway, we appreciate you giving in there, digging in, giving us 5 stars and all that stuff. Also, moving right along, not to say it's any less, we did get a new Facebook recommendation from Destiny Richardson. How about that? And it says, "Best podcast around, period. I love hearing all these North Carolina cases." So that was cool. Thanks so much for going there and giving us a recommendation on the Facebook. And last but not least, well, not last, but anyway, we want to give a big thanks out to our buddy JT, Joseph Terry, who would definitely dropped a chunk in the gas money bucket this week to help us on our quest for new equipment.
Yep.
So JT, we appreciate that, man. Thanks so much. And last, I'd like to big shout out to O'Brien Degree for last week and coming on and doing that for us, and it's really cool. And just say thanks, man.
Yeah, we got a lot of good positive feedback from that episode, man.
Yeah,
it was really, really good.
Yeah, man. Lots of people telling us stuff and emotional stories about listening to it with him and crying right along. And then it was guys and girls and everything else. I mean, it's just a great thing, I think.
If you hadn't listened to that episode, go check it out. It was our last episode with Aisha Degree's brother, O'Brien. He sat down with us for over an hour and talked to us, and we just had a good conversation, man.
It was good, man. We got so many good comments and feedback off it. It's just amazing. So
yeah, it was.
Man, we really appreciate you coming on and telling the story, bro.
Yeah, that's right. All right, Dale, if there's nothing else.
I think that's it, man. That's a plenty, and we'll get yelled at. I probably took way too long today, but anyway, I got to get them in.
All right, after this short break, we're going to be right back with this episode, bud.
Yo.
All right, Dale, we are back.
We are back.
And, man, we are going down to Florida.
Florida.
For this episode. Yeah, the Sunshine State.
Yeah.
It is Sunshine State, isn't it?
It's probably shining.
Yeah, I think it is. But that's where we're going. We're going down to Florida.
All right.
And we're starting this story on November the 22nd of 1985.
Man.
This was just a few days before Thanksgiving of that year.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when there's a girl by the name of Laura Murphy.
Correct.
She had came to Florida from California.
Yes.
She had come to Florida to see a boyfriend of hers all the way across the country.
Yeah, I guess they must have been writing letters and stuff, because there was no social medias or no internets back then.
I had read they were kind of like pen pals.
Pen pals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she came all the way across the country to Florida to see this guy.
Right.
And when she got there to see him, they were together. It wasn't like she wanted it to be or how she expected it to be.
Correct.
Yeah.
She was looking for
romance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fairy tale romance, and I think he was looking for
A hookup.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. She got there. He was touchy-feely. He was wanting more than she wanted.
Pokeroonie.
Yeah. So it didn't happen. She didn't like it, so she left.
Yeah, and I don't blame her.
Yeah, that's it. So she left, and she was walking down the road. She was going to evidently she had some friends there in Florida. She was going to go to their house.
Yeah, she was going to go, and I think, like you said, she had a couple friends. Whether she made them while she was there or already had them is kind of iffy as far as the information is available. But she supposedly was going to, talk to them a little bit, and her flight was the next day. So she was just telling them she was out. So
yeah,
I think that was what was going on.
So she was walking down the road.
Walking down the road.
And this is taking place in the town of Malabar, Florida.
Malabar.
That's right.
Yes.
And she was walking down the road, and there was a motorist pulled up beside of her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There is stories about the weather was starting to change. You know how it is in Florida, sunny one time, rain the next time. So like a storm was coming up, but I'm not sure about that.
Yeah. So this motorist stopped to help her.
See if she needed a ride.
Yeah. And she gladly got in the car.
Well, she checked him out. I mean, he was pretty good looking, suit, tie, hair fixed. I mean, nothing creepy as,
Yeah.
none of those standard creepy flags.
Yeah. So
Now, of course, this is in 1985, so catching a ride was, it's not the 70s, so it wasn't like super common, but it's not like today.
Yeah.
Right.
People, I guess, still hitchhiked back then, I would assume.
Well,
yeah.
Apparently she was doing it.
Yeah. So she got in the car with this
Well,
guy.
I don't know. I don't know, was she hitchhiking or she just walking down the road and he just pulled over to see if she needed a ride? We don't know, do we?
No, we don't know.
Okay.
It really hasn't been said.
Right.
But anyway, she got in the car with this guy.
She did.
And you ever seeing that he was a nice-looking guy, clean cut?
And she wasn't going far.
No. And he told her that you're going my way.
Right. I'm going right by there.
Yeah, I'm going. Now I've got to go home to pick up some papers for work.
Or a notebook or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, notebook. That's what it was.
And then I'm going to go into work, and I'll take you where you need to go.
Yeah, it was only like, 10, 15 minutes away.
Yeah,
So it wasn't far at all, right?
No, it wasn't far at all.
Right.
So they're driving down the road, and they pull up a dirt driveway, a long dirt driveway.
Right.
And it sort of goes up to a house, and he gets there, and he says, "This is my house."
Yeah, nice looking place. Yep, all kept up and everything. Nothing, still
That's
nothing
right.
weird.
And he gets out, and he goes in the house.
Well, he asked her if she wants to go in and grab a drink. She knows, it's hot. You've been out here walking.
That's
you want to come in with me and get a drink? And she goes, "No, thanks.
That's right.
I'm good."
So he goes in.
Correct.
And a few minutes later, he comes back out.
Empty-handed.
Yeah. And he starts looking through the car like he's rummaging, trying to find something.
Yeah, he comes out and he says that, dang, I must have left that thing in the car. I can't find it in there. So he's looking around in the back seat, rummaging, like you say.
Yeah, trying to find that notebook or papers for work that he needed.
Right.
Yeah. And he's looking all around, and the next thing that happens, her seat that she's in flies forward.
Right.
And her head is banged against the dash of the car.
Right. So she's seeing stars.
She is. And the next thing she knows, she's got a rope around her neck.
Yes. Ligature.
Yeah, she has been addled, and she's got this rope around her neck, and she is being dragged to the house.
Dragged by the neck.
Yes.
Not good.
No, being choked out, and he's taking her to the house.
So I'm figuring everything's going to go black pretty quick. Cause,
Yeah.
Being dragged across the yard with a rope around your neck, you're not going to stay conscious very long.
And trying to fight it, and you just been your head knocked out, and just I can't imagine what she's been going through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially when Mr. Nonchalant here has turned into what the hell.
Yeah. So she's unconscious.
Right.
And being dragged into the house.
Mm-hmm.
And the next thing she knows, she is waking up.
Right.
She is coming to. And Dale, she is completely naked, and she is laying on the kitchen counter.
She is strapped to the kitchen counter.
That's right.
Somehow or another.
And there's a video camera that's been set up along with lights, and there's some stuff going on.
Yeah, old boy standing there naked.
Yeah, he's naked too.
Yeah, with the camera. Yeah.
And she looks, and she's got needles being inserted into her arms.
Right.
Yeah. And this guy is taking blood out of her.
Right.
And she can see her blood going into a jar.
Right. He had a surgical tubing hooked to a needle, which was in the arm, going into the jar.
Man. And he's telling her that he's extracting her blood and that he's a vampire.
That's right.
And he's going to drink her blood.
He's going to drink it. So she's already been sexually assaulted.
Yes.
Yeah, so she is strapped down to this counter, totally nude, arms and legs strapped, immobilized, been sexually assaulted. Time she comes up with the camera watching, now he's got needles in her arms, and he's removing some blood from said body.
And also, too, we need to talk about, she has lost complete total of time. She don't know what time of day it is or anything, how long she's been unconscious or anything.
Yeah, first I think she thought maybe he was drugging her because it felt like a needle going in her arm, but then he never took it out.
Yeah.
Because I think she had a blindfold on, but she realized she could see like underneath, like down by her nose, when she's laying on her back, so she can kind of see the needle in her arm, I think.
Yeah. So after all this bloodletting that's going on there on the kitchen counter, he handcuffs her, and then he puts her in the bathtub. Mm-hmm. And then later on that day, there's another round of sexual assault and more blood extraction.
Yeah, round 2.
Yeah. And she's blacking out again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can imagine how much, just losing blood, plus all this other stuff's going on.
Yeah. So the following morning, after a third round of all this sexual assault and bloodletting, this guy, he handcuffs Laura Murphy and left her in the bathroom.
Yeah, handcuffs her wrist, and then her ankles are also handcuffed.
Yeah.
And she's also still nude.
Yes.
Naked.
And he's saying that he would be back later for more assaults.
Yes.
And also told her that if she tried to leave or do anything, his brother was there and he would come in and kill her.
He would kill her.
I can't imagine what this girl's going through, man. And the amount of...
How much blood she's lost.
Yes.
Yeah. Because it said, at one point, he was getting upset because he had taken too much out and it was starting to coagulate before he could drink it.
Yeah.
And she's like flipping out, but he goes, that's okay. I'll just take out more. Maybe I just need to drink it faster. And he grinned at her and all its blood running out of his teeth.
Golly, man. Yeah. Rough stuff.
Rough.
But this girl was traumatized, man.
What do you think?
Yes. And she had blacked out again. Whew. And at one point she woke up and she could see the getting dark outside, kind of.
Right. Well, before she blacked out, I think she laid there and listened for a long time to see if she could hear somebody in the house. But all she heard was the car door shut. And so she didn't think, she listened and realized that it had to be him leaving and not someone coming in.
Yeah. So this girl that's been sexually assaulted and all this blood taken out of her, she's trying to find a way to get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she figures out, she don't think nobody's there. So she's like, hell, it's now or never.
Yeah. So she was able to push the bathroom window up to get out.
Yeah, the door was locked from the outside, so that was a no-go.
So she got out through the bathroom window.
Now, you think about it, she's trying to muster up enough strength to do this. You're already going to be dizzy, busting headache from all this blood loss. You just, wore out. You just have to be so overcome with...
And with a lot of blood loss, you get cold, hypothermic.
Oh, yeah. So there's a lot going on here. So basically, like I said, she got the window pushed open and grabbed a towel to try to cover herself. But, how much can you do?
Handcuffed
when your hands are handcuffed together and your feet are handcuffed together and trying to hold a towel. What are you, bunny hopping? I
don't know. Crawling.
You just do what you can. That's all you can do.
She's got this towel partially around her, and she gets out, and she's crawling down this long dirt road driveway.
Trying to get back to the road.
To the main road, that's right. Yeah. So she gets to the main road. And there are several cars that are passing her along the road, her crawling alongside the road.
Can you imagine what she looks like? This got to be terrifying.
I can't imagine, man. But there were several trucks passed before a motorist stopped to help her.
Yeah, another man in the car.
Yeah. And she begged this motorist when he stopped not to take her back to that house.
Yeah, I think he was kind of worried. He pulled over and he's like, what the heck's going on? And he asked her if those handcuffs are real. I guess because, it ain't been long since Halloween, so maybe something weird's going on here, And no, that's when he realized this is very, very serious.
Yeah.
And got her in the car, and that's when she started flipping, please don't take me back to that house. And then basically told him where the house was and told him to make a mental note of it, so don't forget where this is.
And he did note the location.
Yes.
And he took her home with him and called the police.
Terrified, man. He picks her up, and then what does he say? We got to go by my house.
Yeah.
And she's probably just, oh my God, not again, because she'd been in that bathtub or in this man's house for like 2 or 3 days, right?
About 21 hours.
Yeah. So anyway, this guy takes her, but he takes her home so he can get his wife.
Yeah, he leaves her in the car, and he goes in and gets his wife.
Yeah, he don't even ask her to go in.
Yeah, the wife comes out there, and I think when her seeing the woman come and help her, that sort of eased her a little bit.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
And then they called EMTs.
Yeah, they called EMTs, 911, all the authorities to come out and check this girl.
I wonder why he just didn't take her straight to the hospital.
I don't know.
Maybe he lived fairly close, and it's probably better to have law enforcement come out there.
Could be.
I mean, I don't know. But it was kind of odd to me. But I guess maybe it would have been quicker to have them come meet them, because this girl was in bad shape.
Now, they take her to the hospital.
Yes.
And the hospital determined that she was missing between 40 to 45% of her blood, Dale.
That's almost half, Donnie.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
They say if you lose up to 15%, you start to get weak and dizzy.
Dizzy. 15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she lost up to 45% of her blood.
If you ever give blood, a lot of people
pass out.
Just a pint. And this dude was drinking jars full.
Yeah. Plus all the sexual assault and being handcuffed, blacking out.
And whatever else he done to her.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. So she starts telling them what's going on, what had happened to her, and where she had been, and all that stuff, Dale.
Yes.
Yeah.
A hematologist later had stated and told him that this girl would have died of blood loss within the next 12 hours if she had not gotten some help. She had lost so much blood that her body couldn't replace it in time to save her.
Yeah.
So I'm sure, the brain was probably starting to divvy out blood where we need it, constricting muscles out to your arms and legs and trying to keep your organs going.
Yeah, it shuts that off.
Because, we don't really need them, but we need all this other stuff to
That's
survive.
your body trying to survive and save itself.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff going on there, man.
But this Laura Murphy, she was initially too traumatized to even file any kind of charges or anything.
Oh, I'm sure.
And a rape counselor was eventually able to persuade her to do this.
Well, I think she come in and said, listen, this is the only way that we're going to be able to stop this guy from doing this same thing to somebody else.
Yes.
And that's when she said, yeah, definitely we need to do it.
Yep. And there was a search warrant that was obtained, and this search warrant was served on this property, Dale.
That's right.
And this property belonged to a man by the name of John Brennan Crutchley.
Yes.
Yeah. And just a little bit of background on this John Brennan Crutchley. He was born on October the 1st, 1946.
46?
Yep, and he was the youngest of 3 children, and he was born into a pretty affluent family in Clarksburg, West Virginia. And his parents were William Crutchley Sr., and he went by Bill, and his mother was Mildred Burnside.
She go by Mill?
I guess. But according to reports and stuff, John Brennan Crutchley's mother, she was pretty distraught at one point because she had lost a daughter.
Yeah, she was 15.
Her oldest daughter. Her name was Donna June Crutchley. And she had passed away on February the 2nd, 1945.
And what happened there?
Well, she wasn't that old. I think she was about 15 years old.
Yeah, she was 15.
Yeah, Donna had died during an emergency surgery the year before John was born. So he didn't even know his older sister. She had died.
Yes.
And her cause of death was listed as circulatory collapse. But we'd also read, too, that she had died in some kind of surgery, maybe a bladder infection surgery or something to that effect.
So she was having a medical procedure and then something went wrong.
Died during the surgery, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's right. So John Crutchley, he was born after his sister died, and his mom, Mildred, she was disappointed because she was wanting another girl.
Yeah, I think she was wanting to replace her daughter in her mind, I think.
Yeah.
That she just lost.
She was disappointed, and she had even began dressing John as a girl for the first 6 years of his life, man. In addition to being forced to wear a dress, John also claimed that his parents subjected him to severe child abuse, which included beating him until he lost consciousness.
Now, this is all coming from him.
It is.
So take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, it's coming from him. But it was reported, too, that John Crutchley, he didn't have any friends as a child,
Right.
preferring to spend most of his time kind of tinkering with electronic gadgets in the basement of the house. And he got a fascination for this.
He's smart.
Yeah, he started repairing and building complex radios and stereo systems.
Mm-hmm.
And he even graduated from Upper St. Clair High School. This is in Upper St. Clair Township, Pennsylvania. And eventually he graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree in physics from Defiance College in Ohio in 1970, and earned a Master of Engineering degree in Engineering Administration at George Washington University in Washington, D.C.
Dang.
Wow, so he's,
Pretty smart fella.
yeah, and moving up and doing things.
Well, at least he's smart about this kind of stuff.
Yes.
You know.
And he also got married to his first wife in 1969.
Okay.
But his first marriage, it was showing some strains by the time he graduated from college.
Yeah, it didn't last long.
Mm-mm. And it ended by the time he had moved to Kokomo, Indiana. This is not the Beach Boys song Kokomo. We'll take you there fast and we'll take it slow. Not that kind of Kokomo.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And he started to work at Delco Electronics. You remember Delco?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
AC
remember.
Delco, spark plugs.
Yeah, but he was working at Delco Electronics.
It's not me. It's not like my company.
No.
It's a different Delco.
Yeah. But it's spelled Delco.
Right.
And Crutchley, he had previously worked at General Motors. This was at the Central Foundry Division in Defiance, Ohio, and this is where he was responsible for installing a new plant security system. So the guy was pretty smart, man.
Yeah, brilliant.
He applied for a transfer to Delco Electronics in Kokomo, where the systems were designed and built, and worked there for several years as an electronic systems engineer.
Right.
So the guy was pretty smart.
Yeah.
Can't say it enough.
Right.
But Crutchley, he departed from Kokomo after an investigation was made by plant security into some missing materials.
Right.
So I don't know if he was involved with some nefarious going on there at the plant or not.
Maybe.
But he later moved to Fairfax County, Virginia, and he got remarried in the 1970s.
Right.
And Crutchley worked for several high-tech firms in Washington, D.C., including TRW, ICA, and Logicon Process Systems. And Crutchley later moved to Florida and began working in 1983 at Harris Corporation in Palm Bay. And Crutchley, he was pretty high up in rank. He had high clearance at several companies, even with the naval weaponry and communication.
Yeah, highly classified stuff.
Yeah, naval intelligence, and even involved with NASA research
Mm-hmm.
at Cape Canaveral. So he had some high security clearance
Yes, he did.
with his tech degrees and all his...
With his smartness.
Yes, that's right. So just getting back to the property that they were investigating, that was his property.
It was.
And during this time that Laura was taken there to that property, Crutchley's wife and kid, they were out of town.
Yes. He had gone to her parents to stay for the Thanksgiving holiday.
Yeah, that's right.
So they would be gone, several days.
Yep. But during this time, when all this take place, John Crutchley was 39 years old. And they had this arrest warrant, and it was served, and some evidence collected. And like we talked about too, there was a camera set up, and the videotape they took from it was partially erased.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure when he got home, I don't know what the time frame was from the time when she went to the hospital to the time the search warrant was served, but I'm pretty sure when he came home from work and opened that door and she was gone, he had an oh heck moment.
It was an oh shit moment. What do I do?
Yeah. So he started getting rid of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He started getting rid of stuff, and he deleted some of that stuff on that tape.
Correct.
Yeah. And photographs of the house taken at the time of the first search showed, among other things, there was a stack of credit cards that was several inches thick.
Mm-hmm.
And a second later search didn't turn up these credit cards, and the whereabouts of them remain unknown.
Mm-hmm. Now, he was arrested during this search.
Yes, he was.
Yeah. Because they come in at 2:30 in the morning and
Mm-hmm.
started going through stuff. So he didn't have time to get rid of everything, so they come in. So it must have been fairly quick when they came in on him.
That's right.
Because they were still, the wife and him were still away from Thanksgiving, so it may have been the next day or so, I guess.
And during the first search, Dale, they found all this other stuff, but they didn't take certain things. There was a collection of women's necklaces and multiple locks of hair that were concealed in a closet, which had been noted but not confiscated by the police during the first search. And then when they went back, this stuff was gone. Yeah. Now, during the second search in relation to this case, the police discovered a stack of 72 index cards, which John Crutchley had recorded the names of multiple women and some men, and along with it, it described sexual performances on these index cards, like a little Rolodex he had.
Rolodex of ratings.
Yes.
Yeah, because he was way past the kinky line.
Yeah, he was. And when some of these people were contacted that was on these index cards, some of the partners indicated that he had crossed the line with them.
Oh, yeah.
From kinky consensual acts into sexual assaults, some of them even involving restraint.
Yeah.
And John Crutchley's wife, she had apparently cooperated in some of these acts and spoke to the press about him. And other remarks, she commented on the attack of this handcuffed teen, this Laura
Murphy.
Yes, and she called it a gentle rape.
Devoid of any overt brutality.
Man, gentle rape, really?
How in the hell? Oh, don't worry about that. It's just a gentle rape. Come on.
So the authorities, they got a search warrant to search John Crutchley's office.
Yeah, where he works.
Yeah, and they found a number of sexually explicit photographs of unidentified women tied up and gagged.
Right. Even some of the photos showing Crutchley's hands choking them in the photo.
Man. And they also found homemade tapes of Crutchley and his wife and dozens of photographs of women in public places. So they've got him, man.
Yeah, so this dude's pretty weird. I think he even went back to the first wife who said that there was lots of stuff, and he had took her a little bit too far. She wasn't into that stuff and had choked her out a couple times, and even sometimes starting severe fights so he could work himself up, because he couldn't make love to her unless he was pissed off and aroused.
Man,
which is weird.
Yeah, he's gotten to the point of no return. Yeah. And one of those searches, Dale, at his home, they found a pair of swim trunks. And you know how swim trunks for guys, they'll have a little pocket on the inside?
Some of them, yeah.
Yeah, but inside that, they found, it was like a driver's license or an ID card. And it was like he put it there to hide it. They wouldn't find it, like kind of like a memento that he didn't want to get rid of.
Right, special one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they found it. It was pretty smart to pick it up and look at it and find that there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But they had John Crutchley. He didn't know, he couldn't do anything. So in June of 1986, he pled guilty on kidnapping and rape charges in exchange for prosecutors dropping the grievous bodily harm charge for extracting Laura Murphy's blood and for drug possession. And during the sentencing phase, the blood issue came up, and Crutchley claimed to have been introduced to this blood drinking by a nurse.
Yeah, part of a sexual ritual. This is back in the 70s, I think. He had met this lady, and she told him all about it. And he was game for anything. He was a group sex guy, guys, girls, BDSM, anything. He was what they call like a trisexual. He'd try anything.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So he was all over the place and doing everything and anything.
Yeah. And Crutchley asked the judge that the blood drinking not be considered, and in sentencing, because of this case, that he had actually not drank the blood. He claimed that the blood had coagulated before he could drink it.
So he's lying now, ain't he?
He is.
Yeah. It had coagulated before he could drink it. He just couldn't get it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. 40%.
45%, yeah. And Crutchley's wife, she didn't take the stand but told reporters that her husband was not guilty and was just a kinky sort of guy.
Just a kinky sort of guy, Donnie.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Just a little bit.
And based on testimony at the sentencing hearing, the judge chose to exceed state guidelines, and he sentenced John Crutchley to 25 years to life in prison with 50 years of subsequent parole.
Yeah, so if he happened to get out, he's still going to be paroled for 50 years.
Yeah.
Be on parole.
50 years. So if he screws up anything in those 50 years, he could go back.
Oh, yeah.
But during all this time, you know, him being there in jail and everything, they brought in a profiler, FBI profiler.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, his name was Robert Ressler.
The profiler.
Yeah, he was the one that helped coin the term serial killer.
Correct.
And this Robert Ressler, he was convinced that John Crutchley had almost certainly killed before.
Oh, you think?
Yeah. Identifying him as a serial killer of the organized type.
Well, I don't think you start, first one is a female strapped to the table with your cameras and your this and your needles and your hoses and your that's not level one.
No. Mm-mm.
You know what I mean?
That's right. This Robert Ressler, he had noted that several female bodies had been found in Brevard County in previous years, and that other bodies had been found and women had been reported missing in Pennsylvania while John Crutchley had lived there.
Right.
But no evidence was found to link these deaths to him. However, the authorities believed he may have killed women in Virginia, Maryland, Ohio, Washington, D.C., and Brevard County, Florida.
Everywhere he's been.
Yes.
You got to always mention that this FBI guy is also one of the ones portrayed in Mindhunter.
Yeah.
The Netflix series.
Yeah, so this Robert Ressler, he's a brilliant mind as far as identifying serial killers and how they work and how they operate.
Correct.
Yeah, he was...
Profiler, baby.
Yeah, that's what he is. So some of the probable victims of this John Crutchley.
Now, none of them's ever been linked.
No.
But
this first one here, this was on January the 28th of 1978, so it's going back before the Laura Murphy one he got caught for. But this Deborah Fitzjohn, she was a 25-year-old secretary from Fairfax, Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Dale, she disappeared, and John Crutchley was placed under close scrutiny because he was her boyfriend.
Yes, he was.
And she was last seen alive at the trailer park where he lived at Wapples Mobile Home Estates.
Wapples.
Wapples, W-A-P-L-E-S.
Okay.
I guess that's how you pronounce it.
Works for me.
And as a result, he was questioned several times for his possible involvement in her disappearance. And John Crutchley claimed that Deborah had visited him the night before she went missing.
Now, this Deborah girl, they were dating, and then she kind of already got the willies about this guy.
She did.
She had been over there, and she was just like, was trying to avoid him, so she didn't want to go back over there. So something had happened with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then one night she had came home from work and took her shower and everything, and she was trying to not talk to him, but he kept on calling, and finally she's like, she just kind of gave in and said, oh, okay, all right, I'll just come on over.
So she went over.
She went on over.
Yeah.
Right.
And Crutchley claimed that Deborah had visited him that night.
Right. So she disappeared and never came back home, and her mom was like, look, you got to check into this Crutchley guy or whatever. So they did, and he admitted, yes, she came over that night.
Yeah. But he fell asleep in front of the TV.
Yeah, man. And now he'd been bugging the snot out of her all day to get over here, come over here. So now he's saying, well, she finally gave in and come over, and then I just fell asleep on the bed.
Yeah, watching TV.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that she had left before he awoke.
Right.
Now, later, her skeletal remains were found
by a hunter.
In October the following year. And when Crutchley was arrested in November of 1985, investigators said they found business cards of the chief investigator in the Fitzjohn case among his possessions.
Now, that can go both ways. I mean, that he could have kept it for a memento, but I mean, I'm sure they gave him the card thinking, if you think of anyone else, call us, one of them deals, right? But he kept it from 78 to 85.
Yeah, long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, there was a 29-year-old, her name was Patty Lou Valansky, and she was last seen by her roommate between 4:30 and 5:30 p.m. on March the 15th of 1985. Mm. This was just the spring before the Laura Murphy, the girl.
Incident, yeah.
Yeah. This is when Valansky decided to hitchhike and left her Mims, Florida residence on foot. Mm. And she had not been seen since. And John Crutchley is considered a suspect in her case.
And why is this?
At his workplace, Dale, Valansky's photo ID card was discovered, and he acknowledged that he had picked her up hitchhiking about 6 months before his arrest in the November 85 incident.
Yeah, imagine that.
And he claimed that he ordered Valansky girl out of his car after she started making obnoxious demands.
Like, don't kill me.
I'm kinky, but don't make demands on me.
Yeah. Making demands like, please don't kill me.
Yeah, and the following day he found her identification in the seat of his vehicle and took them to his office.
Oh, so he don't know what happened to her, made her get out of the car, but just happened to find her ID card in the seat and then kept it.
Yeah, and her body's never been found.
Yeah.
So in addition
So
to...
now we can see why they think he might have something to do with this, because he probably did.
Yeah. So in addition to
Valansky.
Patty Lou Valansky, the identification cards of 5 other women were found by the police in his office work desk. One of them belonged to Nancy K. Brown. She was a 25-year-old native of Rantoul, Illinois, who disappeared while vacationing in Cocoa Beach, Florida. This is on June 6, 1983. And her remains were discovered in Canaveral Groves on March the 8th, 1994.
So a year later.
Yeah. And it was determined that she died from a blow to the head.
Wow.
And on May the 1st of 1984, boaters found the body of a female floating in a creek north of Barge Canal on Merritt Island. And she was later identified as 16-year-old Cheryl Ann Windsor, who had been reported missing by her...
16.
Yeah. And she'd been reported missing by her mom. This was on April the 7th of 1984. And her identification was found among those belonging...
Her ID was found with this other girl.
Yes, right.
What you trying to say?
Yeah. And along with those belongings, there was another 20-year-old Diana Lee Casey, whose skeletal remains were found on Merritt Island in 1984.
So how close is this Merritt Island place from where he lived?
But he lived close to the coast, so I'm assuming, especially if he done work for NASA at Cape Canaveral, it'd have to be right there near the coast.
Malabar is a little bit south of Cape Canaveral. Merritt Island is very close to Cape Canaveral.
Yeah. So he could have been dumping bodies out in that area, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So very possible.
Yeah. Now, there were 23 bone fragments believed to be partial remains of 2 women were found in dense brush south of U.S. Route 1 in Malabar, Florida. This is on January the 30th, 1985. And some of the bones were identified as the remains of Kimberly Ann Walker, who was 21, of Vero Beach, Florida. And there were bones from the pelvis, leg, and a foot that belonged to an unidentified woman. And in both cases, the exact cause of death was unknown. But this Kimberly Ann Walker was last seen in June of 1984 getting into a light-colored or a small car at Miko convenience store. But Crutchley owned a beige 1982 Nissan Stanza.
At the time?
He did.
All right.
And the decomposing and bludgeoned body of Lynn K. DeSantis, she was 40, and she was found in a ditch in Grant, Florida on November the 26th of 1985. So this was just right after the Laura Murphy.
Yeah, that they found this
They
body.
found that body, yeah.
And this girl was last seen hitchhiking outside the Colonial Motel where she resided in Melbourne, Florida.
Yep.
And her death was ruled as a homicide. Of course, I'm sure she was not going to bludgeon herself and throw herself in a ditch, so I'm assuming that's what happened.
That's right. And in 1995, Naval Criminal Investigative Service agents began investigating John Crutchley, who had access to the Norfolk Naval Air Station. And during the time, 2 women were murdered at the base. One of them was Pamela Ann Kimbrough. She was a 23-year-old Navy messenger, and she disappeared from base on March the 25th, 1982. And later, at the end of a seaplane ramp, her body was discovered floating in her submerged vehicle.
Oh, wow.
And her assailant attempted to choke her while tying her arms behind her with a clothesline. Now, the other one was Carol Ann Molnar. She was 21, and she was a Navy clerk, and she disappeared on February the 6th, 1983. And 3 months later at the Norfolk base, her decomposing body was discovered partially buried beneath rocks along a seawall, and she had been choked to death. And following their investigation, a man was sentenced in 1997 to 2 life terms in prison for the slaying of Kimbrough. But Molnar's murder has not been solved, Dale. Yeah. But in 2010, the Brevard County Sheriff's Office released an image of a skull reconstruction based on the remains of an unidentified woman only known as the Brevard County Doe. And there were some teenagers who were hunters found the decedent's remains in a densely wooded area off of Hollywood Boulevard. This is in West Melbourne, Florida.
So, yeah, not too far from Crutchley's home.
Yeah.
So all these could definitely be linked to them. Well, not
Definitely.
linked, but it sure looks awful damn suspicious.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
All right, Dale, we were talking about this Robert Ressler, the FBI profiler.
Correct, too.
And he was writing about this case in 1992. And Wrestler, he predicted that Crutchley's 25 to life sentence would result in release as soon as 1998.
Yeah, well, you know, Crutchley, when he got that, he's like, well, I'll be out well for them because I'll be the most perfect prisoner. And he just thought he was smarter than everybody else, basically what's going on here.
But Crutchley was released 2 years earlier than that, after serving 11 years of his sentence.
So he got 25 to life and he served 11.
Yeah. And Crutchley was released on August 8th of 1996 from the Union Correctional Institute in Rainford for good behavior.
There you go.
And officials in Bridgeport, West Virginia, where his mother lived, did not want him.
No. Would you?
No. Nor authorities in Malabar or Melbourne, Florida. They didn't want him.
No.
Therefore, John Crutchley was transferred to the Orlando Probation and Restitution Center. This was
basically a halfway house.
Yeah, that's right. And less than a day after he got out, less than a day later, John Crutchley was picked up and arrested for violating his parole after testing positive for marijuana.
Well, now.
Yep. And even though he denied smoking marijuana, saying that inmates blew marijuana smoke in his face.
I don't think it works that way.
Yeah, prosecutors in the subsequent trial showed him confessing to correction inspector that he had smoked marijuana because he was nervous about his impending release.
So wait a minute. You're telling me he was smoking weed in prison?
Yes.
And then they let him out, and then they went the next day and drug tested him?
Yes.
Now who's smarter?
Yeah. They got him back, and he wasn't getting out.
No.
He violated parole.
Which would result in a sentence of life imprisonment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was basically under the three-strike law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This violation of his parole resulted in the sentence of life imprisonment.
And that was imposed on January 31st of 1997 because of the three strikes law.
Yeah. And this was his third conviction.
Dun, dun, dun.
The first two were for kidnapping and the rape of this Laura Murphy, the hitchhiker. And Crutchley was placed in solitary confinement when it was discovered that he had 13 piercings in his genitals.
Woo!
Yeah.
13?
13! Which was a violation of prison rules.
13?
13 in his genitals.
So wait, did he didn't know this the first time?
I guess not. I mean,
he didn't get them in one day.
He must have done it while he was in prison.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh.
Dang,
13.
I can't even imagine. I mean, I don't even have enough room for 13 piercings.
God almighty.
Yeah. But
now, I did see somewhere that somebody said that they thought maybe these 13s were like trophy or tallies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tally.
Yeah.
Like tally marks.
Yeah.
Tally marks on a tally whacker.
Yeah, how people make a notch on the headboard. It was just like, yeah.
Yeah. No wonder. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, he had 13
We're
piercings.
getting in the weeds.
13 piercings in his genitals. So on March the 30th of 2002, Crutchley died in prison.
He did.
Yeah. Corrections officer.
So this is what, 5 years later?
Yeah. Corrections officers reported that on April the 2nd of 2002 that he'd been found in his cell at the Hardy Correctional Center with a plastic bag over his head. And the cause of death was reported as asphyxiation.
Yeah.
And subsequent reporting around August the 1st of 2003 from the Florida Department of Corrections declared that John Crutchley died of autoerotic asphyxiation.
Right. So why he had a plastic bag in the first place? I don't think they could give you a plastic bag.
I don't know,
You'd think that happened a lot more often if there was free range for plastic. I mean, not necessarily doing it to yourself, but people, taking other people out.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of funny to me that he died with a bag on his head.
Yeah.
Doing it himself.
Man, this was a bad dude.
Yeah. Good riddance, sorry.
But just a little bit of media coverage on this case. On October the 30th of 2010, the cable channel Investigative Discovery, they broadcast a 25-minute summary of the Brevard County incident, which led to John Crutchley's incarceration. And this episode of American Cult includes interviews with this vampirism sociologist. Her name's Catherine Ramsland, as well as the Brevard County investigators. And this episode also included archival video footage of John Crutchley, including his declaration of him being a vampire, declaring that it's all about the label of the Big V. The Big V.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. But this Catherine Ramsland she noted that John Crutchley was there. There was nothing about him that would send danger signals to potential victims. Indeed, she states that there was nothing about him that would indicate he was nothing but an engineer.
Yeah, I'll tell you, he's the big T for trash.
Yes.
Trash, you hear me?
Yeah, he's saying trash. But John Crutchley was a bad dude, man.
Yeah.
He got away with it for a long time.
And to look at him, you wouldn't think nothing. But yeah, he got away with a lot of stuff for a long time. But eventually, his little sexual deviant self took himself out.
Yeah, if that Laura Murphy hadn't got out, man, he probably wouldn't just kept on doing what he was doing.
Oh yeah, I mean, you got to give her a lot of credit, man. That's doing what she did to save herself to get out of there.
And that's the name that been reported as her. We don't know if that's her real name or not.
Right.
It could be a pseudonym.
Pseudonym, yeah.
Yeah. But that was the name that was given in the reports.
Yes.
But yeah, it's pretty wild, man.
Very.
But we want to do this case something a little bit different. Something that's not covered much.
No.
So yeah, John Crutchley.
Trash.
Yeah. We'll post pictures of all this, things we can find, and
There ain't a whole lot.
No, there's not. Just a few mugshots of him and different things. But we'll post pictures of the area and the house and stuff. So
Yeah. Alrighty.
all right, Dale, we're gonna get out here, man.
All right, let's roll.
We want everyone to be safe. Please be careful and always be aware of your surroundings.
Because the next episode could be about you.
This is the Crack House Chronicles.